Assalamu alaikum dear viewers. Today's technical presentation on 3D production pipeline prepared by Said Behjat Yusuf, VT, Government Higher Secondary Khag Badgaon from the trade Media and Entertainment. This session includes number 1 pre-production, number 2 production phase 1, number 3 production phase 2 and post-production. Introduction of 2D and 3D animations. 2D versus 3D. Two-D animation figures are created or edited on the computer using 2D bitmap graphics or using 2D vector graphics. 2D animation has many applications, including analog computer animations, flash animation, and PowerPoint animation. The 2D production pipeline starts with workbook and goes all the way through final checking, compositing, and final output in the form of an animated film. A 3D animation is essentially a digital version of 2D animation. A 3D animator creates poses on a series of still images that are referred to as frames. By creating a series of poses and playing it over a certain amount of frames, you can create the illusion of movement. The 3D computer generated image (CCI) production process emphasizes the importance of a smooth production path. It covers design, modeling, and rigging steps through touch-up and final output in the form of a video or film. Three-D production. 3D production help you in understanding the production process and the role of various people involved in 3D animation. The first process in the animation pipeline and also one of the most important is the pre-production. Pre-production process is followed by production and post-production steps. Pre-production. Pre-production is the phase of developing ideas and planning prior to the process of production. It begins with the main concept or ideas which are initially turned into a full story, and then once the story has been finalized, other things such as the script, shot sequence and camera angles are worked out. The work done during the pre-production serves as a visual reminder of the original plan. Sometimes they can be referred back to throughout the production. It is the period before any real animation work takes place. Major components of a pre-production process: storyboarding, layouts, model sheets, animatics. Storyboard. The storyboarding process, in the form it is known today, was developed at Walt Disney Production during the early 1930s. A storyboarding is a graphic organizer that consists of illustration or images displayed in the sequence for the purpose of pre-visualizing a motion picture, animation, motion graphics, or interactive media sequence. The storyboard helps to finalize the development of the storyline and is an essential stage of the animation process. Storyboards often include notes to describe the frame in more details, such as mood and lighting, as well as camera moves. It details key events and scene changes in the animation, often accompanied by text notes describing what is occurring in the scene, such as camera movement. It is a visual reminder of the plan and can be referred back to throughout the production stage. Storyboard can be especially useful when working in group environment, sometimes quite common in the animation industry. Character design. Character design involves developing the appearance and features of characters in an animation. Model sheets and expression sheets are produced to help animator be consistent with the appearance of characters. Character lineup sheets are also produced to compare the scale of the characters against one another. Layouts. Once the storyboard have been approved, they are sent to the layout department, which then works closely with the director to design the location and costumes. With this, they begin to stage the scene, showing the various characters' position throughout the course of each shot. The final voiceover or music scores can also be added if not used already. Complex camera movements that cannot be easily portrayed in a storyboard or 2D animatics can be adjusted in 3D layout. The 3D layout looks like a primitive version of the final product at first but is hugely useful and will develop throughout the rest of the pipeline. Model sheets. A model sheet, also known as a character board, character sheet, character study, or simply a study, is a document used to help standardize the appearance, poses, and gestures of a character in art such as animation, comics, and video games. Model sheets are precisely drawn groups of pictures that shows all the possible expression that a character can make. Expression sheets may also be developed as a guide to character facial expressions such as smiling, laughing, sad, shocked, sleepy, alert, thoughtful, concerned, etc. These sheets are created in order to both accurately maintain character details and to keep the design of the characters uniform, whilst different animators are working on them across several shots. During this stage, the character design are finalized so that when production starts, their blueprints can be sent to the modeling department who are responsible for creating the final character models. Model sheets are required when multiple artists are involved in the production of an animated film, games, or comics to help maintain continuity in character from scene to scene. Model sheets have also been used in the past to maintain graphic continuity over the years of long-lasting cartoon production of short features such as Looney Tunes or Merry Melodies series. Model sheets also provide notes that present specific information about how to develop particular features of the character, such as his or her head shape, hair length and style, size, and position of the eyes and the mouth. Animatics. An animatic is a string of storyboard images edited together with sound to illustrate how a sequence will flow in motion. It is a next level technique after storyboarding. They are not always necessary, but they do provide a fuller sense of what the finished project will look like. An animatic is basically an animated storyboard. The same image you have already created as a storyboard are now put into a video and can include dialogue, sound effects, and music. The goal of an animatic is to define the timing for a piece of moving image and is often accompanied by audio such as dialogue, sound effect, and music. Animatics are created by playing a series of images in order and changing the timing on each frame. Timing changes are used to create a sense of pace. Each frame of the animatic depicts a certain key points of the scene or movie. The running time should match the intended running time of the final animation. Animatic can assist with decision regarding scenes to include or exclude. On a commercial project, this is very important as it avoids wastage of time and money during production. This helps the director plan how they will go about staging the above sequence as well as how visual effect will be integrated into the final shot. Production Phase 1. This is where the planning, thinking, and specifying ends and the doing really begins. Some major activities that are undertaken during the production phase are layout, modeling, texturing, lighting, rigging, and animation. Animation production is a very coordinated process where different teams of artists work together while utilizing optimum resources and achieving the initial goal in the time available. The production phase is often the longest and busiest phase of the animation project. During this stage, the director approves camera moves, depth of field, and the composition of the models making up the set and set dressings. It is then the responsibility of the modeling department to deliver these approved sets, prop and characters models in the final layout stages. A 2D production pipeline starts with workbook and goes all the way through final checking, compositing, and film output. Whilst the 3D production process emphasizes the design, modeling, and rigging and animation stages. Layout. A layout is a visual map. It instructs the various artists on a scene where the characters are to be positioned and how they are to move. The timing of the scene and individual character movement will be indicated on the DOP sheet. A DOP sheet looks like a spreadsheet with rows and columns, but its purpose is to provide instruction concerning the time duration of individual character movements, scene, camera moves, and audio details. It ensures that each and every person working on a production is working to the same basic instruction. Layout artist. A layout artist sets the stage for each scene of animation. The layout artist produces the 3D version of what storyboard artists had previously drawn on paper. Each layout is a vital piece of reference for all those involved in the production process. The layout determines lighting and camera angles as well as where character and props are placed in the scenes according to their start position. The layout artist will often work closely with the director and other specialists such as a scene planner and special effects supervisor to work out the scene layout. While the layout artist is responsible for composing the shot and delivering rough animation to the animators as a guide, the background artist creates scene settings. A background is essentially a static setting upon which the animation takes place in the foreground. Background animation can be very simple and drawn in a similar flat style to the characters. The keyframe animator drawn the images that determine the beginning of a movement and the end of the movement. Modeling. With the design approved, the technical production begins, commencing with the modeling of characters and assets. the 2D design process transforms to 3D. This can be done in a variety of softwares, that is Maya, Utility, dependent on the platform the project has been tailored to. Models may be created automatically or manually. The manual modeling process of preparing geometric data for 3D computer graphics is similar to plastic art. The three-dimensional model represents a physical book using a collection of points in 3D space connected by various geometrical entities such as triangles, lines, curved surface, etc. Almost all 3D models can be divided into two categories. Number 1. Solid. These models define the volume of the object that they represent, like a rock. Solid models are mostly used for engineering and medical simulations and are usually built with constructive solid geometry. Shell or boundary. These models represents the surface, that is, the boundary of the object, not its volume. Almost all visual models used in games and films are shell models. Texturing. The next stage of creating a realistic 3D model, the process of creating and applying texture to a three-dimensional model. Texture is an array of color pixels that form the image. Textures come in different formats. This can be RGB texture with alpha channel, RGBA, monochrome texture, and many others. Our experienced 3D artist proficiently uses Photoshop, Mudbox, as well as other 3D softwares for texturing. A 3D texture artist creates stylized or natural textures and materials that are then applied to 3D model and environment in games, films, or TV shows. Many 3D artists faces a problem when 3D object remains smooth and plastic looking even when the texturing is done. Example, a tree looks as smooth as glass. We avoid situation when stimulated object looks plastic and unrealistic by applying proper texturing techniques. Production Phase 2. Lightning. Now that the animation is finished, it should not need to change too much. Lighting can be placed around the scene and baked without it slowing down the entire project thanks to the 3D modeling pipeline. Lighting will be affected by the model's animation and texturing, which is the specific reason it has to come after everything else. While lighting in 3D is as much important as that is in the real world. The first thing to understand that there is no lightning as the real world in a 3D world. The feeling of lightning is elicited by the manipulation of images to emulate the look and feel of lightning as it appears in the real world. However, it is the skillful application of lightning is what makes any animation stunning, relatable, and able to resonate well with the audience. In order to get the feel and look you expect, there is a range of setting that needs to be applied on the material on each frame one by one. Rigging. Rigging is used for animation. Typically, it is a necessity for organic models, but for non-organic or hard surface models such as chair or table, it is not typically needed. Rigging the model creates a skeletal structure so that when a model is animated, the model follows the structure and is not just stagnant. Rigging is the process of adding bones to a character or defining the movement of a mechanical object and is central to the animation process. There are workarounds in games engines for animating in engines such as the Utility Engine and Unreal, but for the most part it is needed for effective animation. The rigging department is also involved in developing cloth simulation, so as well as making a character able to cleanse their first or rotate their arm, the rigging and cloth department is responsible for making their costumes move in a believable manner. Post production. Post-production is the third and final step in film creation, and it refers to the task that must be completed or executed after the filming or shooting ends. It involves exporting or rendering out of the animation frames and then editing the piece of animation together using video editing software. It includes the editing of raw footage to cut scenes together, inserting transitional effects, working with voice and sound actors, and dubbing to name just a few of the many post production tasks. The three main phases of post production are rendering, compositing, and editing. Rendering. The rendering stage is usually associated with computer generated animation, although rendering can also refer to the process of creating final animation frames in traditional hand drawn animation. Rendering is used in both 2D and 3D computer animation. It is the process of getting the final assembled animation scene or piece out of the computer in the format of a sequence of individual frames. The aim of rendering is to generate a series of individual pixels based frames or a video clip. Compositing. The compositing department brings together all of the 3D elements produced by the previous department in the pipeline to create the final rendered image ready for film. After the animation has been rendered, it may be necessary to add some special effects or to combine separate rendered elements together into one final animated sequence. This process is known as compositing. Compositors are responsible for constructing the final image by combining layers of previously created materials. The compositor's job is to assemble the different characters and background into single frames and sequences, and so is often the first to begin to see the animation as intended for the final audience. The compositing stage also allows for addition of other elements such as special effects which have been created using other equipment processes. General compositing tasks include rendering the different passes delivered by a lighting department to form the final shot, paint fixes and rotoscoping, as well as the compositing of final elements and general color grading. Editing. The editing stage of post-production involves putting the rendering pieces of our animation together in the correct order of events. In this modern digital age, this means the use of digital nonlinear videos editing software which allows a great deal of flexibility in the editing process. In the past, the editing process would have involved the use of videotape or film-based method which has considerably more time intensive and less flexible. Editing is a crucial step in making sure the video flows in a way which achieves the initial goal. Video editing is the process of manipulating and rearranging shots to create a seamless final product, and it is at this stage that any unwanted footage and scenes are removed. Other tasks include Other tasks include titling and adding any effects to the final video and text. Post-production sound editing primarily involves preparing the soundtrack for import into the video editing software. This may involve adjustment to the sequence or occurrence of particular sound due to changes made in the editing stage. Editing the soundtracks can be a separate process to editing the video track, although these are combined together within the video editing software. The soundtrack at this stage is already assembled in a fairly complete form, having been created in the production stage. Many sound changes may take place simply within the video editing software itself and may not require much, if any, changes to made within the sound editing software. Titles and credits. Titles and credits are an important part of a finished animation. It helps in people know who made it, when it was made, who funded the project, and so on. This may involve adding text or subtitles at various points if appropriate. Thank you for patient listening. Stay safe, stay healthy, stay home.